Sunless Skies Sovereign Edition
is a top-down, text-heavy, Lovecraftian survival RPG with a train that can fly.
The game is set 10 years after the events of Sunless Skies, which comes from the same developer. After the subterranean city of London opened a gateway known as the Avid Horizon and gained access to outer space, which should have been a bad sign. But then they started exploring the high wilderness, where stars are godlike beings who exert power through their light, and unspeakable terrors lurk in the dark.
And you're gonna start the game by choosing a difficulty. You're gonna start with two options. One is each time you die, you start with a new captain, or the second one is you reload with the same captain and continue. After that, you're gonna be able to also adjust aiming assist, enemy projectile speed, and supply consumption.
That's all very useful, and it has a very interesting character creation model. You can adjust the face a little bit, but just in silhouette, you don't see a lot of details. But the personality, the backstory of your player character goes really into depth. So first of all, you can choose from 8 kind of backstories: street urchin, soldier, poet, academic, priest, Zailor, ministry auditor, or revolutionary. Then you choose something like a school of ideology of training. It's more like a class kind of thing. So you can be associated with celestialism, with the nocturnals, or with the sovereigns. And then you select what I think is one of the most interesting game mechanics I have ever seen, and that is, how do you want to win the game? It basically asks you, what does success mean to you? And then you decide you want to win the game through wealth, by getting a certain amount of money and being able to retire, through fame, which means collecting as many stories as you can and becoming a famous writer, storyteller, or by finding the truth. And the game actually tells us you should not try to find the truth until you've already beaten the game in one of the other ways, so there's a lot of replayability here.
And there's also going to be the game a little bit different for every one of you, because it's procedurally generated.
It's not procedurally generated, it's randomized.
I don't know what's the difference. If it's randomized, then it's procedurally generated.
No,
right?
because procedurally generated means it has an algorithm with certain elements, and then each time it like generates a whole new world based on that.
Generated. Okay,
yeah,
so
but
it's generated.
It's not generated. No, it's not generated. There's like this is important. It's important. There are handmade like areas, but they're going to be in different parts of the map at different playthroughs. So you'll recognize things, but if you replay the game from the beginning,
will be different.
The layout will be different. Yeah.
Well, you start a game with a train that is flying, and you need 2 things mainly: fuel and supplies to run it. You are exploring the world, finding towns, new crew members, secrets, or enemies. And when you get into the fight, you use stamina for both firing unlimited projectiles or evading, but you can get overheated, which times out both of these actions for a while. But this game is not as much on the action part. The biggest part is the choices.
Yeah, and the words and the reading. Like, we'll say more about this in the should you play it section of this video, but this is a game for people who like literature and who like reading, because the bulk of the game is about reading. If you always skip text in games, this might not be for you, because each encounter will start with kind of a paragraph description of the situation, what you're dealing with, and then some context for each of your choices, what kind of consequences it should have, but also what those choices might mean in the world that you're in. Overall, the game has over 800,000 words of like these interwoven stories. And the world and the encounters are inspired by works of literature by authors like, of course, Lovecraft, you'll notice that immediately, but also C.S. Lewis, Jules Verne, and H.G. Wells.
And each time your character advances, you can choose another part of their history, where they For example, black sheep of the family, or do they have lost love? This will shape your character. You can also improve your locomotive with upgrading your weapons or equipment, and when you have enough money, you can buy even a new one. You can also craft weapons.
And in a world like this, being a captain is not that easy. You not only have to think about the terrors out in the dark, but you have to think about your crew members. Going through the world, you can recruit different crew members. All of them have some issues, usually. They're all a little bit unpredictable, some more good, some more bad, but you have to manage not only their morale, but also their terror level as they start encountering, well, terrifying things. And if they get too terrified, well, everything just gets completely out of control. You start hallucinating. You also have to, of course, monitor their level of hunger, because if they start starving, this could easily lead to a mutiny, and that is a captain's personal nightmare.
And you're gonna explore 4 regions, each with their own map. And this is a pretty long game. It can take you from 36 up to 100 hours.
Wow. And this is the Sovereign Edition that we are reviewing now. That doesn't add a whole lot. It was a free update, actually, at some point after the initial release. It adds more backstories as you're creating the captain, changes to the interface, actually, and some new elements that allow the character to progress. But it doesn't dramatically change the game.
Yeah, but there's a new content.
Yeah.
But the question is, should you train it?
Train it?
Well,
Train it. Ah, it's a train. Yeah. Should you train your train? Yeah. But first, you should know that this game is going to be completely free from the Epic Games Store starting July 27th. And for 1 week, you'll be able to add it to your Epic Games library, then install it whenever you want. And that is what we do on this channel. We play and review every free weekly game from the Epic Games Store, so you know if it's worth your time. So if you subscribe, you will never have to be bored or waste your gaming time ever again.
This is really more like a sequel to Sunless Sea, even though it's not called Sunless Sea 2.
Get it up in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it feels the same. There are some good improvements, but I make it easy for you. If you loved the first one, you're gonna like this one even more.
Yeah.
If you dislike the first one, it's very unlikely that you're gonna like this one. Even though I see some improvements, especially on the difficulty. Now, the first one was too difficult. Now, thanks to the more difficulty settings, it is more accessible. I think it's more expanded world, and I get about the same atmosphere from the game. So I do like it, but I don't like it enough, mainly because of too heavy text, especially for me as a non-native speaker. Some of these words I have no idea. So maybe as teaching an old way of saying things in English, it's a good game for that. But for me, trying to enjoy my games, no, I don't enjoy it as much because of that.
I think that all that is completely fair, especially the part about if you're a native English speaker, because it's quite advanced, old-fashioned language. But you said that if someone didn't like the first one, it's quite unlikely they'll like this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Well,
you don't think so?
You
said no to the first one.
I said no to the first one.
Me too.
And spoiler alert, I'm saying yes to this one.
But why? Tell us more.
Well, you want to know why? Okay, well, that's what I'm here
now
for.
I want to know.
Yeah. You know, they are very, very similar, but the differences are key. And I think the new difficulty levels there, to be fair, most of our playthrough was with slower enemy projectiles, forgiving saves, and this made it still, you had to be careful in combat, but I had the impression that I wasn't immediately threatened by everything. I think the first game, it was trying to make you vulnerable to every danger and be terrified of what's in the dark. This time I felt like from the very beginning we could hold our own if we fought well, which made it feel less like a roguelite that I would have to keep like restarting and redoing parts, and more like a perilous adventure that I would have a chance. So difficulty settings are key. I would strongly recommend starting on like easier difficulties, and if you like it, then maybe doing a second playthrough with harder difficulty.
First playing 100 hours on easy and then playing another? Well,
if you're enjoying
since it's randomly generated, you know.
Not generated. Randomized.
I know.
But if you're enjoying it, yes, because actually what I enjoyed was the stories. And that's key. I would say the key is not if you like the first one, but do you like long stories and non-voice text in your game? I would say the texts are very well written. They are intriguing. They give you immediately moral choices that do not have a yes or a no answer. You have to make decisions and you are responsible for the consequences.
Something we didn't mention. You get answers, but there's a chance that you fail in those options.
In many things, you're taking a chance that this might not go well. And the world really intrigued me. It's weird. Usually Lovecraftian worlds don't pull me in, but this one really started to. I want to know what's going on. I want to explore more of the towns. I want to meet more of the characters, and that means I want to play more, and that means I have to recommend it and say you should give it a try if what I said makes sense.
Well, now when you're saying it, I want to say yes, but no, I said no because I do like
text. It's about the text.
Yeah, it's about the text because I am a fan of Lovecraftian games. Yeah. Without that as heavy text and maybe more like pictures instead of text, I would say yes.
Or if it was voiced and you were talking to characters and things.
Yes.
The last thing I would say, the other improvement is the combat. So we did make it easier with the enemies, but in the first game I really felt like the ship was kind of hard to control.
Yeah.
This one, it was much easier to control and feel like I was able to do some skilled combat and hold my own very early on.
You can do evade, which is really helpful.
Makes a huge difference as well. So let us know down in the comments what you think, if this seems like the type of game for you, and whether you like text in your games or not.
And we hope to see you next time. Bye.